What's up everybody, Brian Earhart here with Team Discraft and the Disc Golf Network, and you're watching another episode of Level Up. Today we are at the Discraft factory here in Wixom, Michigan, and we're going to talk about a foundational component of improving the backhand throw, and that's working on timing. Let's get into it. Throughout the vast archive of disc golf instructional content that's out there, the phrase backhand timing is talked about a lot. And really all it means is when things happen in the disc golf throw. More specifically for me, in today's video, I'm going to be talking about how we time the lower body with the upper body to make the backhand throw as balanced and seamless as possible, giving you more power and more consistency. I'm going to talk through some of the main mistakes that I've seen players make when they try to clean up their timing, and I'm going to talk about how we can fix them. So let's get into the first one. So the first big position that players get in that causes a timing break between the upper and lower body comes from when the disc, at some point during the backhand throw, gets behind this back foot, which is where that weight transfer comes from. Essentially, the big problem from this position is if the disc is trailing the back foot before you're about to throw the disc, you can't throw from back here. It's not a what you put into the reach back is what you get out of the reach back. If you're back here, you're gonna have to fall into a balanced position to then try to throw the disc. And what happens there is you don't just fall to this balanced position and then rotate against your front foot. You already have the momentum of your spine kind of toppling over, and you're gonna get to a position where you look like this before you're about to throw. So you lose rotational power, you lose speed, and you really lose accuracy because it's hard to throw on a level swing plane when you're going like this. So there's a few ways that players get to that position where the disc is trailing, and let's talk about them. So the first thing that I want to talk about is a very little adjustment that players can make to prevent the disc from getting too far behind them when they're trying to throw backhand. And that's to pay attention to where your head is as you move forward on the tee pad. It is surprising how many players I've worked with that don't look down the line they're throwing at all as they begin moving forward on the tee pad. They will take their very first step and they'll look directly down at the tee pad. This is such a common thing. Not only does this take your eyes off the target and make it really hard to visualize the line, it now allows your shoulders a ton of room to rotate, and to rotate early. What you want to do for the first two steps of the approach, at least before that final step happens, is to look down the line that you're initially going to throw the disc. Number one, like I said, this is going to help you with visualization. You're able to see your target. A professional pitcher is never going to opt to wear a blindfold while they're pitching. They're always going to want to see their target every single time, and so should you. So not only is this a visualization aid, it also pins the shoulders in a much better position to prevent you from getting too far behind your back foot. So when your head's forward, how far can your shoulders really go? Not that far. When your head is here, your shoulders can turn so much more. And one of the big things that I see is players with that problem will get the disc extended way too early, and that creates that stagnant motion behind the back foot and forces them to kind of have to topple over to throw the shot. So with that said, what are we supposed to do? Where is the disc supposed to be in relation to our back foot? Ideally, a good rule of thumb is that the dominant hand that's throwing is playing the back foot like a puppet. And just kind of like walking or running, opposite hand fires with the opposite foot. Same thing goes with backhand timing. Ideally, that hand and the back foot should be moving forward together. So with that, the big mistake that I see with the lower body are players that have way too long of a cross step. I've talked about this in previous videos and previous seasons, but players can even keep their disc in a very neutral position and look very good up here. But if they take this second cross step and it's huge, there's still a gap between the disc and the back foot. We're still trailing. So with that, if you have a good upper body position, the disc looks very neutral, you're not doing a big pump or anything like that, work on shortening the cross step to where if you freeze frame yourself, once that cross step hits the ground, you should be able to draw at least very closely draw a line through the hand down into the cross step. That's how you know you're at least in a good position to throw, because you get to here. Now when you stride forward, all you have to do is turn your shoulders. You don't have to push the disc back or anything like that. This is how we keep our spine in a good balanced position and focus on rotation. So shorten the cross step and better link it up with your upper body. So now let's talk about the upper body and how we can time the upper body with that cross step. We watch professional disc golf. We all know what the best players in the world look like when they throw, but they all do something a little bit differently with their upper body. And what I'm more specifically referring to is the way they pump the disc forward as they're about to throw. What is that? Why do the players do that? Whether the player throws the disc forward like this on their cross step, whether they hit a little forearm extension here, whether they take both hands and bring the disc up like this, the purpose of the pump is simply a timing mechanism. It helps to bring the disc forward, prevent the trailing of the back foot, and keep both of these locked together. So some players like to keep the disc in a nice neutral position, but a lot of other players like to keep the disc forward so that when they take that final step, just like I was saying, the disc and the foot are locked together. Is there a pump that is better than others? Ideally, we want the pump, in my mind, to reflect the angle of release. I think sometimes you watch players and they seem to pump the disc forward on the same trajectory, the same angle every time. And I think it's counterintuitive. If you're trying to throw a hyzer, you want a pump that reflects your body's positioning. If you're throwing an anhyzer, I wouldn't want to pump the disc here and then bring it up to try to throw an anhyzer. Do you have to pump the disc forward when you're throwing? Absolutely not. I think at the beginning, as you're learning the timing, just keeping the disc forward in the throw is totally fine. Well, that's gonna do it for today, folks. I hope you all at home at least learned a little bit more about how to better sync up the upper and lower body in your backhand throw. With that said, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time. If you want more content on this topic, make sure to go watch this episode on the Disc Golf Network.